What? Talk with my hands.
The man does not realize it.
Okay, Sherry, first of all, your name?
Sherry Shorten.
Sherry, tell me, let's start at the beginning. I mean, the way this whole thing came about, the way this, I mean, you were arrested and ended up in prison. Kind of run through the whole thing and how everything evolved from there.
It started December 16th, 2010. I was arrested and indicted on conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government. I went to prison. I was sentenced to 18 months in jail. I served with good time, and I was released on April the 18th, 2012. During this time, my aunt was in the care of both of my children, Jessica, age 12, and Chance, age 5. And while both children were being cared for in our temporary living quarters, which was a school bus that had been converted into an RV. They had running water, hot and cold water, electricity, sewage system, everything was intact. My aunt did not maintain the living quarters, did not take care of the children, did not supervise the children. On March the 7th, 2012, both children were picked up by CPS and put in foster care. We've gone through the last 5 months. My husband was released from prison on July the 9th. He was arrested and indicted for the same charges as I was. When he got out on July 9th, we started helping each other as far as getting the kids home. He started pressing a lot of buttons, pushing the issues, and eventually the kids were returned home on September 28th, 2012.
Hang on a second. That son's still okay. After when you first got home,
Uh-huh.
okay, you were home first. The
Yes.
kids were gone.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you had a first meeting finally with them, got the pizza and everything else. Can you tell
Right.
me about that, and then how often you actually get to see the kids from then to now?
I was allowed visitation twice a month, from April the 18th until August the 24th. During that time period, those visits were anywhere from an hour to 1 to 2 hours long, depending on CPS's schedule and transportation and so forth. That was visitation. It was like at their offices, so we were in office settings, sitting there just like at a conference room table talking to the kids. I brought pizza and so forth, but they couldn't run around and play and enjoy themselves like they would normally. And then August 24th, we received a 4-hour weekend visitation where we could pick the kids up and go for 4 hours to the park and barbecue and really play and enjoy ourselves with the kids. And we did that for several weeks until September the 28th, whenever we were allowed, the kids were returned home.
What was your feeling? I mean, how did you, when this first came about? I mean, you were allowed calls in prison.
Yes.
Tell me how that came about, the day that this happened, how it evolved, what you knew about it, how you were hearing about it, what you were being told.
What I knew, I called home, and I happened to call home before the kids were taken, but it was March 7th around 11 o'clock in the morning. When I called, Jessica said that the police were there. And while I was on the phone, there were news crews showing up. She was calling out vehicles she was seeing pulling up. CPS was here. My aunt was supposed to be on her way home. It took her way too long to get home. It took her several hours to get here. And by then, CPS had already decided what they were going to do. They had toured the grounds and so forth. I was shocked at the amount of news attention this got. It went worldwide. It went pretty global. And, so I heard the conversations between Jessica, and then when my aunt eventually got home, I heard the story from them about, that CPS had decided to take the kids into custody. And then the next 3 days from there was spent, the wardens were hounded with a lot of people wanting to talk to me and my husband. They weren't allowing it. I got a few interviews over the phone, and I found out a lot of more information from reporters than I found out from anybody else. DFPS actually called the prison and talked to Warden Tet and asked to speak to me because I would have firsthand knowledge of my children's shot records and any next of kin and all of this information. The warden refused to allow me to talk to DFPS because I was an inmate.
So what, I mean, and the place when you left, it was cleaned up. I mean, you had building materials sitting down here. I mean, it was real nice, clean, and everything else. When did you first start finding out, hey, this place isn't what I left it as?
I had asked for pictures of the kids being in prison. I hadn't seen them in a while and knew they had grown. And when I got pictures of the kids, I got pictures where their hair was all messed up and their clothes were kind of ratty looking. And, you know, so I started asking questions on the phone. I heard Jessica's hair was tangled up. Chance probably needed some new shoes and new things, and things that I directed to be purchased and be, you know, done for the kids. But through this process, my husband decided, let's expand this. Let's get pictures of the whole property. And whenever we got pictures of the whole property, this was back in between July and November. And over that time period, we realized that there was a lot bigger mess out here than we thought. And we directed my aunt on how to get it cleaned up. And on December 25th, Christmas Day, she took pictures outside with the kids. Their hair was cleaned up, the property, the yard was cleaned up. Everything was in good shape by December 25th, 2011. So we really thought that the problems had been fixed. But between December and March 7th, everything was pretty much strewn about and put right back in the condition that we saw in some of the pictures.
What about then CPS? I mean, what kind of problems, issues, when you first got out, they were wanting parenting classes, they were wanting all kinds of classes, wanting you to have a job, and then the bus evidently wasn't good enough, wanting you to actually split up with Mark, basically, is what it amounted to.
Right. It started out with the fact that they just wanted me to work their cookie cutter approach of a case plan, which includes parenting classes, psychological evaluation, several things my attorney told me I couldn't avoid because of the fact that I had been in prison. They wanted to make sure that I had not been institutionalized. That's why they insisted on the psychological, that, you know, I was still able to go out and get a job, that I hadn't been out of the marketplace so long that I wasn't marketable. And, you know, they wanted to see me actually sustain myself, I guess is the best way to put it. And, you know, make that transition, you know, home. And once I had done that, you know, I felt like, you know, everything was cleaned up. You know, I got a job. You know, we've proved that y'all haven't found, in all these months, we've proved that y'all haven't found anything wrong with the parents. And we're not the cause of what happened. We just were absent and couldn't fix it. And we were not, I wasn't just off on a vacation. I was stuck. I couldn't get home. I wanted to get here to fix it, but I couldn't.
Now, once you started communicating with kids, had the weekends with them, what were you seeing with the kids? I mean, their attitudes, how were they with foster mom? What kind of issues, issues there?
Foster mom called me a couple of times on the phone. Told me she just knew that I was just a worried, sick mom, that I just, you know, had to be sick, wanting to know what was going on with my kids. And she thought she was going to update me on what was going on with my kids. And that, I listened to what all she had to say, and then compared that when I got phone calls with the kids and visits with the kids, and I started seeing a lot of inconsistencies. There things like the kids said they had to sit on the floor, they're not allowed to sit on the furniture. Things like that their house, the foster mom's house, was for sale for a period of time, and the reason they couldn't sit on the furniture, they kept everything pristine condition so that if she had showed the house, then the house would look nice for anybody, a real estate agent, to walk through. You know, Chance had a problem where he forgot to flush the toilet when he went to the bathroom, and he's 5. You know, I mean, forgetting to flush the toilet is one thing, but she made him, every time he forgot to flush the toilet, he had to stand in the hall next to the doorway, and he'd stand in the hall and yell, "I will flush the toilet," like 25 times, out loud, so everybody in the whole house could hear him. I mean, a lot of things. My daughter was being called fat because she was wanting more to eat. And when we complained, my kids have lost a lot of weight while they were in foster care. And when we complained that they were, losing weight, then the foster mom got questioned, and she started calling my daughter more names because she was wanting more food. So she started calling her fatso and fatty, and things that would make her feel bad about herself.
What about where they were feeding kids? Portions.
Yeah, there was some sort of a grooming process going on at the foster home. Grooming for a potential adoption type issue. They were doing like weighing their food into portions for ounce of meat, and the way you do an adult diet. But these are growing kids. They're not kids that would be eating just regular portions. Sometimes they eat more, sometimes they eat less. It just varies.
Education-wise, I mean, you've homeschooled kids the whole time.
Yeah,
The first line of public school was basically with foster. Tell me a little bit about
right. When they tested the kids, DFPS put the kids through a testing process. The kids are all on grade level. Jessica, when they got to the gifted and talented testing at her school district, she tested into the gifted and talented program. Chance, we've been working with him. He is just in kindergarten this year, so he's learning his letters and his numbers and getting in the groove. They both like being around all the kids at school, but DFPS was concerned about their transition socially into school. But my kids, even though they've been homeschooled, they make friends at McDonald's playground. They make friends at Walmart. They make neighborhood friends. And then friends at church. They've been in a Sunday school. They've been in school type settings where you have teachers, you have other kids, and socialization was not a problem for them. They got into the school and met people and jumped right in.
What about Jessica? I mean, her grades. She's fantastic on science. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little about her and the science, her school and her grades.
Jessica does a really, really good job with science. She loves to do experiments. That's her big thing. I want to do an experiment. And we've done experiments since she was growing up, everything from growing seeds to helping her dad with soil samples to tracking rabbits. And I mean, she really has seen the life cycle of animals, plants, everything firsthand. And her grades are excellent. She's whizzing through her schoolwork with all A's right now. Yeah.
What do you think of CPS overall? I mean, after the experience now that you've had with them.
I'm not sure that experience is over yet. I don't know that I can put a definite on it. I think maybe there needs to be some changes. There needs to be some checks and balances in all of this. Because the process and the cookie cutter approach, I don't think it works for all families. And, I mean, there's a place, and obviously there's kids that need a lot of protection, but then there's also families that just need a little bit of help getting back together, and that's it.
What about you had some issues, kids had some issues medical-wise for a while there.
Yes, there's a process whereby when children are in foster care, the state pays the foster parent to take care of them. And while the state is paying for the foster parent to take care of them, there's different levels of service. If this is just a basic level, then there's a flat monthly rate that the foster parent will receive. If the child has like a health issue and has to go to constant doctor's appointments, physical therapies, or a disabling issue, anything that requires more constant care, then the category goes up from there and the monthly payment goes up from there. And as a result, it seemed like that Jessica was being pushed, especially for a tonsillectomy, and then eventually Chance for a tonsillectomy too. And they're pushing for medical services, which would help increase the category increase of payments to the foster care home. The higher the level of service based on their medical needs. So they were, to me, they were creating medical needs that weren't necessarily there. Sent Jessica down for a lot of food allergy and pollen allergy testing. And the food allergies, when it came back, these things they said she was allergic to, she's eaten forever with us. I've never seen an allergic reaction. But they were even counting somebody being tired as an allergic reaction to food. They said that food, for example, I mean, I've seen a kid that eats a lot of sugar and then gets a real high and then real low. But they were counting that if she ate pork and then went and took a nap, that the pork she was allergic to the pork in some manner. It was getting crazy.
It seemed kind of strange. I mean, you're living here in Splendora. Foster mother's in Humble, but yet the doctor is
in Houston. Yeah.
And same doctor on both of these that's diagnosed.
Yes, and
in the tonsillectomy, or the tonsillectomy they were talking
well,
about.
the tonsillectomy, actually, there were 2 other foster children living in the home with R2, and you cannot tell me that all 4 children were recommended for tonsillectomies by the same doctor in Houston. And when you have all 4 children being recommended for tonsillectomies, you can't tell me that you've got 4 kids in one household that need elective surgery. I mean, maybe 1, maybe 2, but when you say all 4 need their tonsils out, no, there's something going on with this doctor.
What changed that whole surgery thing? Like, oh, they don't need it now. Kind of run that down.
Actually, my husband has a enzyme deficiency, and we kept insisting that Jessica could not have surgery because she'd never been tested for this enzyme deficiency. And if she had this hereditary condition, then she could actually not recover from anesthesia during the surgery. And they needed to be aware of it so they could counter it. I had been on the phone many, many times with DFPS. I had contacted everyone involved with this case to let them know of the enzyme deficiency. My husband was sending emails from the federal prison insisting that they do something about this. It took pretty much an act of Congress with me and him both just screaming, and almost at one point they decided that we were being just almost radical, but eventually they said that tonsillectomy was an elective surgery. Nobody was going to die or be seriously hurt from a tonsillectomy, and that they would wait until my husband was home and they could compare his blood type and everything to my daughter's to see if she had the enzyme deficiency. And then that way, if she did have to have surgery, she had been tested, and anesthesiologist could adjust and ICU could be on hold at the same time.
And put tonsillectomy off for that period of time.
Yes, just put it off for a while, and basically DFPS decided that they did not want to be responsible for any tonsillectomy. They let my husband and I make that decision when it was appropriate.
All right. Hang on a second. Okay, Mark, first of all, go ahead and give me your name.
Mark Shorten.
Mark, tell me a little bit about the incident. You tied up the federal system, and tell me about the day that you found out that all this was going on.
As far as here at the house with the kids?
Yes.
The day of, March 7th. I had found out that, like Sherry had said in the previous year, around November of 2011, we'd gotten some photos of the house that basically it needed to be picked up. It wasn't as bad as what it was on March 7th, the way it was found. Got Hazel some help to get it picked up, get it cleaned up, try to get a handle on things. And by December, Christmas 2011, things were shaped up. What happened between December and March 7th is anybody's guess. That's, you know, that is.
Kind of tell me about the day that you found out about the CPS and everything going on here at the house.
I had just arrived at the FTC in Oklahoma City and called home to check in. And whenever I called, my daughter answered and said she's the one that told me they were here. That phone call ended. I had to call back. The our phone calls are timed. And when I called back, they were gone.
What was running through your head? I mean, your hands are tied. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. What was running through your head this whole time?
Well, I didn't know if this was the final goodbye. You know, you think things are as bad as they can get, and then they can get worse. You know, and you just, there's not much you can do other than just stand and absorb it. First thing I did was just sit down. And put it all in God's hands.
The anxiety levels got to be quite high at that point.
Yeah, definitely. That far away from home, restricted communication, access. You know, you got to take the news as it comes. Matter of fact, I learned a lot via the media. You know, catching some of the news on TV with regard to what was going on here. I didn't realize that it had grown to that proportion when I saw it on one of the television channels. You know, I was kind of surprised to see it, you know, that far away from here, that it went that far.
Okay, you got out when?
Monday, July 9th, 2012.
Between the time Sherry had gotten out, you had communications with her. The kid's been here. Did you had a chance to talk to the kids yet at all before you got out?
No.
Okay, when was the first time you were able to speak? Talk to the kids, first of all.
First time I was allowed to talk to the kids was July. It would have been that Tuesday, July 9th. I got to talk to them for about 20 minutes on the phone.
Tell me about the conversation, how something like that went. Just after that much time, and then you still can't get your hands on them to hug them.
Tried to keep the conversation light, just try to maintain, and you know, be strong, you know, for them, their eyes, let them know everything was going to be fine. Start trying to make heads or tails out of, you know, what I hadn't been here for. Seeing where I need to pick up, you know, and take over at, and what needed to be done that hadn't been done. Just, you know, picking up the loose ends.
Tell me about kind of history. I mean, you started out, you born in Central Texas, moved to Louisiana. You had land in Louisiana. The kids were down there with you in Louisiana before all this.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about operation that you had going down there, what you were doing down there.
I was farming. Had farming and a fabrication facility, both, two businesses. Fabricating trailers, repairing farm implementation, tractors. Plus I was running a small, what they call consumable produce farm. I sold some of the major grocers in the area, southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana. Before that, transportation was what I did. I was involved in transportation logistics. Like I say, Louisiana, we came there basically just for a cleaner way of life, just to get away from the city. Did enjoy it, did have fun, enjoyed the land. The land, you know, rewarded us. I was trying to go back to what my roots were as far as, you know, in the farming community. Getting back to, you know, working the ground.
Okay, that all changed. What happened?
Well, basically this thing with a friend, a daughter of a friend.
I'm saying back in 08 with the farming going, I mean, the reason you shut that whole operation.
Hurricane Ike, 8.5 foot of water overtook my place. Houston got hit. They didn't put much on news as far as what happened in our neck of the woods, but they said forecasters had forecasted that the tidal surge was expected to be about a foot less than Rita. We figured we could manage it. It wound up being 5 feet higher than Rita. Pretty much wiped us out. And whenever the new hurricane season approached, my children cornered me and told me they didn't want to live anywhere where they had to ride a boat across their front yard to get away from the house. And so we moved here, you know, come back to Texas.
I mean, you started a garden out here now and kind of doing things like that.
I've done some produce work here in Texas, growing as well as, you know, selling consumable produce. I intend to pursue it, but I'm going to have to rely on my transportation to get myself back on my feet now that I'm back home, got my family back together, get things back to normal.
Once you get the kids back, okay, the kids came back in. I mean, you were talking to them. When did you first see the kids?
First saw the kids July 18th.
And how did that go? Tell me a little about that day.
Tough. Didn't want to let them go. Didn't want to say goodbye. Didn't want to be away from them. Knew that I couldn't do that part of it that long. You know, I wanted them around more often. I got out of prison and came back here Monday, July 9th, 2012, but I didn't come home until September 28th, 2012, Friday, September 28th, 2012 at 2:43 in the evening. And that's whenever my kids got brought home.
Home once again, Paul Williams.
I'm home.
That first visitation, kind of a little different, wasn't it? I mean, it wasn't one of these pizza deals.
Nope.
Told something with you. Tell me a little about that and why that happened.
Well, actually, my children, they wanted cantaloupe. They were wanting cantaloupe, watermelon, tomatoes. You know, they wanted vegetables. So I brought some cantaloupe. We sat, we visited, laughed, talked, tried to keep the conversation light. It got a little stressed because they knew that it was going to be short. They didn't want to go. I didn't want to go. You know, my little boy even insinuated to the caseworker that he was supposed to go with us and led the way out the wrong door as opposed to the door that he normally left. And as far as he was concerned, as far as my daughter was concerned, we were both home. It was time for them to come home. And, you know, that eventually got there. We're there now.
What kind of problems have you had? I mean, between the time you got out, July 9th, and now with CPS, I mean, you have fought them tooth and nail. You've had to get another attorney. You've had to look at everything.
Well, the fight was more so, like I said, a lot of people, they don't work the problem. You have to work the problem. I basically got home. I assessed what Sherry had done, what had happened, what she had accomplished, what they were demanding of me. Putting things, I guess, in more of a visual state as far as what it was going to take to get from where we were to where we wanted to be. Laid out a plan and followed that plan. The first thing that I realized early on was that our representation of that time was not going to be the representation that was going to facilitate the reunification of my family. And so that I went and found this Mr. Branson, who, without a doubt, in my opinion, he is the go-to man with regard to, families that have this sort of problem. I don't really blame CPS. Like I said, I think DFPS and Child Protective Services, they have a valid role in society. But I do believe that sometimes they just don't allow themselves to interject the common sense in certain cases. And people like Mr. Branson is a man that puts that back into the quotient and gets things more back down on real ground. You can go in the phone book, you can find any number one of 1,000 that specialize in family. You can't find any that specialize in keeping that family together. And that's what he does.
The kids came home here 28th. Okay, the kids came home here on the 28th. Tell me what your feeling was. I mean, you're waiting for 4 o'clock, and also here a little bit early, they showed up. Tell me what was running through your mind right there when you first saw them pull up in the driveway.
The best word I can think to...
Hold on a second. Okay, go ahead.
The feeling I got when the children arrived home, I guess the word is relief. It was like, and really and truly, that doesn't do what I was feeling real justification. It's like when a person sets a goal for themselves, a rather high goal, and they get there. You finally arrive. As been said, mission accomplished, job done, whatever. Just them home, just the sound of their voices, just, you know, little mannerisms and quirks and so forth, just, it all felt real familiar. It was, like I say, I come home. I arrived home the same time they did, the very moment. And then once my wife got home, it really surprised me how fast things went back to what I remember. You know, the thousands of questions, the, you know, opinions, you know, things they wanted to do, things that they did do, things that they were going to do, hearing what they had been through, what they had saw, what they experienced. It just all come together. It just gelled. That's the best way I know how to explain it. And but like I say, as far as the day they came home, I came home same time. I mean, it was like coming home all over again, you know, and won't be anything ever like it again. I hope. I mean, it was a good feeling, but it's not something I want to feel over and over again, you know, not with regard to that matter.
Y'all stayed up pretty late that night.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oh, we started out with pizza. Then we went into popcorn. Well, as far as what we snacked on everything, it seemed like. Tried to keep limits on it, but it was all to fuel the hours of conversation. Hugs, kisses. It went till 4:30 in the morning, and just finally had to give it up. And we all four fell asleep, and just, I mean, woke up the next morning and everything was just like nothing had ever happened. We made breakfast, we went about our day. Kids wanted to know what they had to do today, what was the plan. It just fell into place. You know, it was just that natural.
What about now? The kids are out, they're in school. I mean, they were being homeschooled before, now they're in public school. What have you seen with them since they've hit public school, with their friends, with the way they're acting, their grades, everything?
Really, the only difference I've seen is their, I guess you say, bragging rights. Jessica feels a little bit more, feels like she has the edge with her peer group. She feels like she's a little advanced, and she is. She's very intelligent. Chance, PE, he likes PE. He really likes PE. PE and lunch and his art class. I mean, he likes his art class. But the big thing for him is riding the bus. He likes the bus ride. He enjoys the bus ride.
What are the kids saying? I mean, once you get to school and they say, oh, you're the ones on television, you're the ones that were on the bus, what are they getting off of that? Anything?
No, they haven't got anything off that. We've done rather well, along with the media, as far as, you know, keeping that end of it down, protecting them. They really haven't confronted that yet. Like I say, it's all been kind of a natural swing. It just like when you feel the gear in your hand drop into the hole, it's there.
Okay, Jessica, I mean, big into science, big into everything. What's the most memorable thing about her science, her project? She's had a couple of projects going. Bring the question into it, what she's been, kind of what Jessica's been doing as far as how she's been doing it, and I mean, some of the projects that she's done. What's the most memorable project and why?
The most memorable was over in Louisiana. I had to get my USDA number for selling consumable produce. One of the requirements is a soil sample of the property. She was like one of them kids you see, you know, ooh, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go, I want to do, I want to do. So I got 2 kits, and I told her, I said, I'll let you do that one. I didn't let her know I was going to do a second one and send it simultaneously. So she followed the instructions, and she packaged up all the soil samples, and we boxed it up and sent it to LSU. And the director of the Ag Extension Center called me, and he said, everything looks great. He says, you did an excellent job of putting together the soil sample package. And then it dawned on me, I said, which one are you talking about? He said, the first one I received. And I said, well, I said a 6-year-old put that together for you. And he said, well, she's got a natural for it. She's you know, she understands it. And Same thing here. That was one of the things that she wanted to know about. I had planned on getting back to getting my garden back up and so forth. One of her first questions were we going to start preparing, try to get any kind of winter garden in? And Chance wanted to know the same thing, because because they both enjoy the working the garden and the rewards that come from it, but they enjoy the canning and more than anything else, they enjoy consuming it, eating it. It's like I say, science-wise, she's all about outdoors, just like my son is. If it has to do with outdoors, we can get into it. We can get a part of it.
Talk about her rabbit science problem. You get rabbits hopping around here with
the tags.
green ears.
She did a science project, a chosen science project that she was supposed to count the number of rabbits within a specific area, their mating habits, as well as their nocturnal and daytime feeding habits. And she did all the clerical, I got to do all the physical labor. I got to do the tagging, or excuse me, the holding while she did the tagging. She got to do the fun part. She had to tape record that or do a video of it so she could watch them at nighttime. Have out different kinds of feed to see who showed up, who didn't, if there were any new babies. Just keep up with the count for a 6-month period. Black and white, but like I say, it was an interesting experiment. Like I say, we still see the rabbits around here from time to time, and some of them have managed to become a regular part of the landscape around here.
How about those cameras came in handy that night when y'all were arrested too? Tell me a little about that.
She would forget to turn off the DVD recorder, and whenever U.S. Marshals showed up with the task force and a couple Splendor officers, it captured the entirety of it, including my daughter and my son laying on their face here in the yard on the dirt with law enforcement standing over them with loaded weapons. And it really shook both of them's opinion of law enforcement, and that's something else that we've had to address, and I'm glad it's been easy to get that out of the way, because I don't want my kids to feel like that there's a trust issue. If they feel like they need to reach out and make that phone call or they need to holler, I want to make sure that they feel like that they can, and it's still something that we may have to address in the future, further. But right now, I think it's good. I think we've got it, underhand. They were too young to understand the full ramifications of it, and this is a mean world, and sometimes law enforcement has to do things that maybe not even they necessarily believe in, but it's just what they call a standard operating procedure.
How are you feeling today? I mean, you get the kids here, the kids are out, they get Columbus Day off even.
It's a beautiful day. It's a good day. I mean, since they've been home, I hadn't had a bad day. I mean, even when it is a bad day, it's still a good day. I usually sit out at the end of the driveway at time for the bus to come in and watch them walk down the street. And in the mornings, I usually walk them up to the corner and wait for them with the bus and watch them off to school. Like I say, it's in 7 days, I hadn't had a bad day, and I don't foresee any bad days in the future. I hope, hope it's back to normal.
Anything you can say to finish it off? I mean, what the CPS, what if they didn't say anything?
The main thing the main idea is that me and my family want to live in peace. I've said that all along. I've told everybody involved. It was what I felt from the beginning. It's what I feel now. It's what I'll feel tomorrow and every day after that. I want to rebuild our lives, pick up where we left off, and build whatever it is we intend to build, from here. No real grudge, no real, anger held for anybody. I just think, again, I think it's a matter of common sense. You know, sometimes we choose red tape over just good common sense, and we shouldn't. And that, you know, with CPS, they have these guidelines. And sometimes, you know, a square peg won't fit in a round hole. You know, so you need to back up and punt. I've had the privilege of working with some pretty good people with regard to this instance. People that have worked with me to get this done, and I thank them. You know, CASA. Can I mention names? Marilyn McQueenie with CASA, Lynn Tolles, Lisa Fisher, director with DFPS, Montgomery County, Gilda Stewart. They've worked pretty diligently to assist us in getting to this point. Michelle Cantoni, and without a doubt, Chris Branson. Chris Branson has definitely championed the day. He has made sure that common sense got injected into it, and we have the results of that. And that's my children home.
And now we got you got one more hearing on the.
Got a hearing on Wednesday the 10th. Not sure what's going to come out of it. I always walk in there what I call the open holster. Just see what comes from the day. You know, take it as it goes.
What's supposed to be? What are the purposes of these hearings now?
They call it a permanency hearing, but I understand things have changed now that the children have come back home, and we're going to see what happens. I mean, there may be some changes in the overall circumstances, but we'll see what this judge comes up with.
Okay. All right. Whoop. Hey.
No, they really don't want Jessica a chance to say what they want to say.
Get up, Jay. No. Oh, miss.
You ever sit in a wheelchair chair?
Yeah.
Really good here. That's one thing I like about the property. You know anything about smelling soil?
Mm-mm.
through with that camera yet?
Go around over there,
Come over here. Can't be in camera, not yet.
What's the matter?
I'm talking about that cat. He was waiting to be up more slacks in the face that he wouldn't arm you.
How's it going?
Just get it.
All right.
Yeah.
Can I take that orange fan down too?
Yeah.
Catching all of us sideways. Crawling up in bed with us and us rolling up. Is this? What in the world is he doing?
But artificial sweeteners may now be linked to our new host of health problems. Renee is here because you wrote me a letter about a health